All right, let's talk about something that's literally the glue holding our digital world together: integration. We're going to dive into how the very tools that promise to connect all our software can, if we're not paying attention, end up building a cage around us. It's a fascinating and kind of scary topic. Okay, quick heads up before we really get going. This explainer is part 3 of a 10-part series looking into vendor lock-in. And it's all based on some really in-depth research from Virtualization Options LLC. Now, remember, this is all for educational purposes. It's not legal advice. For that, you should definitely talk to a legal pro. So let's set the scene. We live in this incredible age of software connectivity, right? The idea that you can just seamlessly plug different apps and services together. Well, it's not just a cool feature anymore. It's the absolute engine of modern business.
I mean, think about it. Modern applications hardly ever work alone. Their real magic, the real power, comes from connecting to literally hundreds of other systems using APIs, application programming interfaces. This is what creates those amazing workflows that a single piece of software could never do. And on the surface, it all just screams flexibility and power.
But, and this is the big question for today, what happens when that convenience comes with some serious strings attached? What if those connections that make you feel so powerful are actually secretly designed to trap you? And that leads us straight into our first big topic, the proprietary API hook. This is where it all begins. This is where the first threads of that dependency web get spun. APIs are supposed to be the helpful connective tissue of the software world, but when they're proprietary, they can start to feel a whole lot more like chains. So what in the world is a proprietary API? Well, simply put, it's an interface built by a vendor specifically for that vendor's world. It deliberately avoids using open, common standards that would let you easily connect to other things. The goal here isn't just to make their product work well, it's to make their product indispensable to you. And what's really wild is how they do it. This stuff isn't an accident. A vendor might use weird non-standard protocols or create their own unique login systems that don't play nicely with your company's existing setup. It gets even sneakier. By giving out their own special tool sets for developers, what we call SDKs, they get your team writing code that's fundamentally baked into their platform right from day one. And this image just nails it, doesn't it? Every single one of those proprietary connections adds another thread, another wire, another layer of complexity. Before you know it, you've built this massive, tangled web of technical debt. And the thought of trying to unravel all of that just to switch to a competitor, it feels impossible. Okay, let's make this super concrete. We need a real-world example. The research we're using points to the Microsoft ecosystem as a masterclass in this kind of API-based lock-in. So here's how the strategy works. Sure, Microsoft's Office file formats are technically documented, but they have so many little quirks and special features that building another program that's 100% compatible is, well, pretty much impossible. Or take SharePoint. Its APIs are woven so tightly into Microsoft's own identity systems like Active Directory. What happens if you want to leave? Well, every single one of those crucial integrations has to be ripped out and rebuilt from scratch. The cost is huge, not just in money, but in time and manpower. But wait, it doesn't just stop with your software code. The lock-in can go so much deeper, right down into the basic infrastructure your network runs on. And this is a trap that a lot of people just don't see coming until it's way, way too late. And that's because, honestly, these network-level dependencies are just brutally difficult and expensive to change. We're not talking about tweaking software anymore. We're talking about the fundamental bones of how your systems talk to each other. You can think of this happening in layers. First, a vendor might use custom network protocols that just happen to require their special expensive hardware. Then, in the cloud, you might build your whole world inside their proprietary virtual private cloud, their VPC. It's like your own private walled garden. Once you're in, getting out is a nightmare. And the final step? They can tie your company's single sign-on, the thing that lets everyone log in to everything easily, to their platform. Suddenly, they're the gatekeeper to everything you use. So you've got API dependencies, you've got network dependencies. The last big piece of this technical web is what happens when a vendor's product just flat out refuses to play nicely with others. We can call this the interoperability wall. And this is where the daily frustration really kicks in.
That shiny new tool might not be able to talk to your ancient but critical legacy systems. It might be totally incompatible with the security tools your team already knows and uses. And my personal favorite is when a vendor claims to follow an industry standard, but surprise, they've added their own little secret extensions, which means it only really works perfectly inside their own little world. Okay, so we've seen how this web gets spun through APIs, networking, and all these interoperability headaches. Now let's pivot. Let's move from just seeing the problem to actually empowering ourselves. And that starts with one key thing: awareness. Which, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question: how do you actually navigate this minefield and keep from getting caught? Look, the answer isn't to just stop integrating things. That's impossible, and frankly, it would be a huge step backward. The real goal, the superpower here, is to learn how to spot the patterns of a trap before you're locked in. That's what lets you make smart decisions that protect your freedom down the road. And it really comes down to asking the right questions every single time. About the APIs, are these based on open standards or are they some custom-built thing? For networking, is this going to force me to buy their hardware or use their specific cloud setup? For authentication, am I in control of my own users or are they? And finally, for interoperability, does this thing actually play well with others or is it a hermit? Asking these questions upfront is your absolute best defense. And at the end of the day, it forces you to ask a really fundamental question about every single piece of tech you adopt. Is this tool actually enabling our freedom to innovate, to adapt, to grow? Or with every new connection, is it just slowly, quietly building the walls of our own prison? Something to think about.